Where do I even begin? It's been a while, and I'm not going to make excuses. It's just been a while. I have had a lot going on, and I've tried many times to sit down and do this, and today it actually worked. So here I am. Hi. My name is Carrie. Thank you so much for coming and joining me on my little channel here. I live just outside of Portland, Oregon. Today is October 5th, 2023. Last time I recorded it was August. So we've gone from summer to fall, autumn. Although it feels like summer here today, we're going to have a nice warm weekend in the 80s and it's nice and sunny, but the windows are open and it feels glorious. I did not intend to go this long. I know I say that, I think, every time, but here I am. So that's what we're going to go with, is that I'm here now, and I'm glad that you joined me, and I appreciate you being here. I've got a lot of things to share, a lot of stories to tell, a lot of things happening, and so we're just going to get into it. Anything that I mention that has a website or a link to something, I will put in the description box below in the show notes. And if I've missed something and you're trying to look for something, you can contact me. But let's get going. So the beginning of September, we'll start there. We're going to go back. Once upon a time, a friend of mine and I spent the day together. And one of the things we did was we found in the Portland area, there's a wooden sculpture that was put up by Thomas Dambo, and he creates these big structures using recycled materials. And so he's gone around the United States and put up these trolls, and they have this story. And there's a sort of this fairy tale that he's created, and he uses like pieces from pallets and just recycled stuff. So we thought, let's go see what this is. And it was such a cute thing. And now I'm obsessed and I want to go see all the trolls because they're amazing. It is giant. I don't know how tall it is, but it is very big. And it's cute. It has little toes even. And I mean, like the attention to detail with it. And I'm going to be putting some pictures here for you to see. Is pretty amazing. So we were supposed to go up to Seattle. That whole thing got kiboshed. And I was really hoping to go up there because there's 3 in the Seattle area that I'm going to go see at some point. Probably not till next year because I'm running out of time this year. But they're pretty cool. So we just enjoyed the day. I've gotten obsessed about these troll sculptures that I need to go see. So, look it up. And if there's some in your area, it'd be really, really worth going and seeing it and just appreciating the art that went into it. So then we went to Sun River, which is in Central Oregon, and we spent a week there celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary. The original plan was we were going to go up into Canada and spend a 2-week trip driving up around into Canada, going to Banff and Jasper National Park and seeing all these things. Well, this year Canada's had a horrible, horrible fire season. And as we were approaching our trip, we decided to just cancel it and not go up there because, for one, we don't want to be in the way of anything. We want to be able to go up there and see things, all the beauty and stuff. And if you can't see it because it's smoky or it's burned up, there's no point in us taking that trip. So we had canceled that and decided to go to Sun River. Like, let's just go there. It's close. At this point, we just want to have a vacation and get away and all that kind of stuff. So we decided to go to Sun River, which is what do they call it? It's like a residential vacation home resort, kind of. It's sort of a resort, I guess, because there is a pool and all that, but it's huge. It's like, 3,000 acres, and there's tons of homes and stuff. But we rented a home through Airbnb. We brought our bikes. Earlier this year, we bought electric bikes, and they have been so much fun to ride. It just makes riding doable for me. I have pretty bad arthritis in my hips, and so riding a regular bike is out of the question right now. So having a little bit of help, and I try and use as little as possible, but enough that I can ride. And we just rode all over the place. And we've been to Sun River several times before. A lot of times we go in the wintertime because there's a mountain nearby, Mount Bachelor, that's a ski mountain, and we've taken the kids when they were young and, inner tubed in the snow and did all that kind of stuff. So we've gone a lot in the wintertime. We've also gone around this time of year because it's our anniversary. But this time we got to see more of it because we were able to take off on our bikes. Because it has bike paths, walking paths, whatever you want to call them, all throughout this whole thing. And normally we would walk, but we would only get so far because you're walking and, it's slow and you walk a few miles and you're good. This time we rode all over the place. We ended up taking a mountain bike trail. We'd ridden up to some lava visitor center thing, and then we decided to ride back on this dirt mountain bike trail. And I said, let's just try it. I don't know how this is going to go, but let's just try it. If it gets to be too hairy, we'll just turn around and go back on the paved path. We had so much fun. It was an easy trail. I have never been on a mountain bike trail, but it was an easy trail in the fact that it was a slow grade down. You just had to dodge the lava rocks and go between trees and, do all that. But as far as there weren't any jumps or, any of those crazy things, but it just followed along this wall of lava. And it was just so incredibly fun. We felt so exhilarated when we got to the end of it. We felt like we had just been on a roller coaster ride or something where you get off and you're like, I want to do that again. So I kind of wish we did ride back up and then do it again because it was just that much fun. But we thought, okay, next time we come, we're definitely going to have to do this. Something we never even knew was there in the past because it's not something you look for when you're on foot. So visited a whole new waterfall. They called it a waterfall. It looked more like a heavy rapid, but I think when the water's lower, it's more of a waterfall. Gorgeous, gorgeous area. Ended up deciding to just let's just keep following this trail, and took a hike that we hadn't planned on, and we just had the best time. Look forward to going back there. It's one of my favorite areas of the state, that whole Central Oregon area. It is considered high desert. It's about 4,000 foot elevation, very dry and desert-like. But it's amazing. It's south of Bend. So if you have an idea of where that is, then you'll kind of know where we were. So we did that. We were supposed to then go up at the end of that trip, the following week, because we had 2 weeks planned for this vacation. Following week, we were going to go to Vancouver and go to Knit City. So I had reserved an Airbnb, and we were going to go up and see the sites that are up in the Vancouver, BC area. And randomly, my Airbnb host canceled our reservation. And I thought, you know what? Canada just really doesn't want us right now. So we just completely left Canada in the dust and decided to not do any of that. So it was good because we got some stuff done around here that we've been needing to get done, but that Canada trip just wasn't meant to happen. So I did get some, projects done. When we went to Sun River, I brought 7 projects. I'm there a week, figure a project a day or something. I don't know. Just want to have choices. I did bring my Hit to Few Day, which I started. Many of you who have been around a while know I've started that quite a long time ago. And I said, I'm going to bring it with me. I never opened it up, never touched it. I did bring it with me. So I, held on to my part of the deal, I guess. But yeah, I didn't touch it. So it's still needing to be done. In fact, I started a completely new project. Should not be a surprise to anybody. So anyway, we did that. And then it's just been a lot of stuff going on. I've mentioned to you guys before that I've been working part-time for my friend Jenny, who owns Lamb Farm Designs, which is her quilt design company. She designs really cute quilts, and started working just a few hours a week. Well, that has tripled, so now I'm working quite a bit more because we're getting ready to go to a pretty big quilt show. It's the International Quilt Festival. It's held in Houston every year in the fall. And it is a quilt show that for years I've wanted to go see, because I don't know if it's still considered this, but it was kind of like if you're going to put a quilt into a competition, that's like the Olympics, right? That's like the best you can do. If you get juried into that, and then if you got a ribbon, oh my gosh, you're pretty darn good. So I wanted to go see like the best quilts, right? But it's a trip to Houston, and I'm not going to make that trip just for something like that. But Jenny is going to be having a booth. She's going to be vending there with her patterns, and has asked me to go along and help her. So in like a couple of weeks, I leave. I'll be gone for 3 weeks. We drive the first weekend. We have a quilt show more locally. We'll do that, and then drive 3 days down to Houston. And then the first part of the show is called Market, and that is more of a trade show. It is people in the industry. It's fabric companies. It's pattern designers, quilt shops, people that make scissors or whatever, like sewing machines. It's like all the industry people. And it's all like quilt shops will be ordering and buying her patterns to carry in their shop, that kind of thing. And so we do that for, 3 or 4 days. We have a day and a half off in between. And then the next weekend is what they call festival. And that's open to the public. And that is the retail side of the show. So we will be selling to the attendees of the show, and it should be pretty big. So in preparation of that, I've been working a lot, trying to help her get all her shit together. Basically, it's a lot of work. It is really a lot of work for these people that are going to be doing these shows, because there's just a lot that goes into it. So we've been doing that, and I've been trying to prep as far as myself, like testing out different shoes. Like, is that going to be comfortable to stand in all day? And I need this and that for traveling or whatever. We will drive 12-hour days for 3 days to get there and to get home. We get home about mid-November, and it's a big trip. I first cleared it with my family because Robert and Michael are going to take Violet during the week, and then Jim will have her on the weekends because he will be working. And so they were all on board with it. They're like, this is a great opportunity. You need to do it. So I'm going, and I love a good road trip, and I love an adventure. So I know I'm going to be absolutely exhausted, but it's going to be an amazing experience. So that has taken up a lot of my time, aside from like my evenings when I can just kind of like, whew. So yeah, that's kind of what's been happening around here behind the scenes. So I will go into the things that I have been making, because that's why you're here, right? You're here to see the stuff. I'll hopefully inspire you to do something. So right before I left for Sun River, so like my vacation, I feel like I've had a lot of vacations this year, which is not complaining, right? I mean, I'm lucky. I'm very, very fortunate. And I guess that's what happens when you retire. You have time to do these things. So I was, something came up on my Instagram, and you know how they'll like suggest these different reels, and it was somebody showing a crochet stitch. She called it the linen stitch, but I'm finding that it's more commonly known as the moss stitch. And I was like, that's kind of a cool stitch. I think I could actually handle it. Now, if you've been here a while, you know I've struggled trying to get my crochet game honed in. And I've had a lot of failed attempts at trying to crochet. So I thought, I'm gonna try this. So I was looking through my stash, and I had this cake of mandala ombre. It was something I got last year when I was making a bunch of charity hats. And it was just like, I got to this one to make a hat, and I thought, I think I need to keep this. For one, the colors are fun. And it is extremely soft. It is such a nice feel to this yarn. So I thought, let me try and see how this stitch works. And then I thought, well, I should just get some yarn. I only had one of these. That's not going to get me very far. So when I was at the store, I got more, and I got this color, which just fades in and out of like a denim blue. And this one's called Harmony. It is considered a worsted weight yarn. You get 150 grams, 344 yards per ball, per cake, whatever. And I thought let me just try that. So I got one of these, tried it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this. So I got more of this, tried to figure out, I can't, okay, let's start from the beginning. I went by the recommended hook size on here, which was a 5.5 millimeter. And I thought, okay, I'll just go by that hook size. And then I went up a hook size to do my chain cast on, my starting chain. The beginning, when you chain a bunch of stitches, I used a 6 millimeter. Now my hooks don't have the letters that correspond, like US uses the letters. So I started with a 6 millimeter, but the whole rest of the blanket is going to be 5.5 millimeters. And I don't think I mentioned I'm making a blanket because I've been wanting to crochet a blanket. So that's what I ended up working on all through the whole vacation. It's been kind of my comfort crochet. The feel of this yarn is so yummy. It is such a joy to crochet. It is just single crochet and chain one. And you just put that on repeat. I don't have to count anything, because what I find is, like, I think I'm doing okay, and then you go back and you're like, oh, I missed a double crochet or whatever. I only did 2 and I was supposed to do 3, and then you got to rip it all back out, and it seems like my crochet just takes me forever. Single crochet and chain one, I can handle that. So I've gotten this far. Let's see, that's the back side. On my screen, it looks a little bright. It is like a denim blue. So you have like new jeans and faded out jeans, basically. And I think this is probably 4 balls. And I crocheted enough to where I used a whole cake. And I just chained on until I was like, yep, that looks wide enough. I just went from there. So I started with 200 chains. I don't know the terms that you use for crochet. So I did 200, and the idea is I'm going to make Jim a blanket because he's always cold, and he just uses Violet's little blanket to throw on him. And I'm like, it's not like, gosh, it's too bad your wife doesn't make quilts. He uses a frickin' dog blanket. So I'm crocheting him a blanket and I just enjoy the process. I enjoy the way this feels. I enjoy the repetition of that stitch count, or the stitching, you know what I mean. And I got enough balls, I think, to make this about 6 feet long, which was what the goal was. So I took one ball, crocheted it up until it was pretty much done, measured how far that ball got me, and then said, okay, if that ball got me, say, 12 inches, I don't remember what it was, then I need so many balls to get to the length that I want. Okay, tickle. And so then I bought more yarn. I got some on Amazon because it was actually cheaper even than Walmart. And I think I have a total of 9 balls, which I shouldn't need that many. But with the way this feels, I'll continue to make some hats or something for charity and stuff because it just feels so nice. So that has taken a lot of time, but it's been good. It's just been very, I don't want to say therapeutic, but like just very calming feeling. The color and the texture and the repetition of the stitch sequence is just like, it's perfect. It's perfect for what I need right now. So then I was talking to my friends in my little knit group, and I said, I got to think of something I'm going to bring with me on this road trip to Houston. It's just a lot of driving. I mean, we're going to do the quilt show the first weekend, but then it's 3 long days of driving. So when it's not my turn to drive and I'm sitting in the passenger seat for hours, what am I going to do? Friends suggested we'll work on your blanket. I don't want, like, it's going to just get bigger, and then that's just going to be more cumbersome to have while traveling. So a friend of mine suggested, what if you do the same stitch count or stitch pattern and just make squares, and then you've only got this much that you're holding on to. It's not a big quilt on your lap. It's not something, or not a quilt, blanket. You're not having to flip over this like big blanket and everything. And I thought, okay, I like that idea. I don't know, what did I do there? I'm just now seeing that I got something a little crooked. Well, we're just going to stretch that out. So I also had a skein in this colorway, so it's got a little bit more of a green, sagey green in it, and this one's called Mantra. And I thought, okay, let me see what that looks like. So if I knit up a square, it kind of, this one actually turns out a little more striped. This is what I was noticing here. See, I mean, that has not happened on the blanket, so I don't know what happened, but you know, you just pull it and then it levels out. So I'm not going to worry about it. So I ended up making about a 10-inch square. I chained on or cast on, whatever, 20 stitches. I should have written that down. I thought I was going to remember. I think it was 20 stitches. And then I just counted the rows until I got to make it a square at about 10 inches, and it was about 42 rows. And then I'm done, and I can like put this away and then start another one. And then I don't have a big blanket, but when I get home, I can just seam up these squares. And I thought, well, how fun, because I can, I can change it, I can do whatever, and make, if it's going to be stripy like this, it'll be like all in the same color palette, the same color family, but all the blocks will be different, and I think it'll look really cool. So that is something I'm going to be bringing with me on my major road trip. And so I bought more cakes of this, and I thought if I've got extra of this one from Jim's blanket, I can either use that to make some squares, or I'll use it to seam them up. It's a close enough color, it'll go. So that's been my crochet journey. I have done some knitting. I mentioned, I believe last time, that I was going to start a vest. I may have started it. I can't remember. But I am making the Perig vest by Orlane Suka. It is fingering weight vest. Oh, geez. Okay, here we go. I am working on the bottom ribbing right now, and I stopped because it was getting late. But I've gotten most of the body done. Like I said, I'm doing the ribbing. Let me stand up. And this yarn is from Fiber Hustle, and it is the Larkspur colorway. It has a little bit of a slip stitch detail. Where is it? Right here on the side. You do a little purling and slip stitching right there on the side. And now I'm working on the bottom ribbing. Then I will pick up and do just a ribbing around here, and then the same around here. I might do a folded neckband, I'm not sure. And then it's just a sweater vest. It's just going to be a sweater without sleeves. So I'm excited to have this done. For one, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. And I have another skein that I'll have to get into for the ribbing, to finish the ribbing. Because I'm almost done with my, that's what I have. I'm going to get into my swatch to finish up the ribbing on the bottom, but in order to do the ribbing on the sleeves and the neckband, I have to get into my third ball. So I'll still have quite a bit left over to make something else. But this has been really nice. Once I got past splitting for the sleeves and everything, it's just been knitting in the round with a couple of little side things to do, and it's been really nice to work on. It's been slow, like I said, because it depends on what I'm doing. I might just pick up the crochet blanket. So I'm at the point of doing like this 1x1 rib, so it's a little slow, but a good pattern. So I also had in my brain that, I'll skip. hang on to find out what I had in my brain. A while back when I went to Sisters, so we did that in July. Went with a group of my quilty friends, and we went to the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show. I mentioned this on the last episode or the one before, can't remember. But when we went, Erin of Fiber Hustle gave us, because a lot of us are also knitters, gave us some yarn that he dyed based off of the colors of the Alaska Rainbow quilt that I made 3 years, been 3 years ago maybe. And the reason why he did that is because this group of quilters came together to make that quilt. We did it as a quilt along within just us, and then we all just became friends, and we still get together. Although I haven't been able to make the get-togethers, we do it on like a Zoom type of thing, and I just haven't been able to make it. But we all decided, or several of us on the drive home from Sisters said, you know what we should do? We all should make something now with the yarn and then surprise Erin that we made all this, all these different things with the yarn. So we all worked on that in secret. I haven't been able to show it, but and then on a designated day, we said, okay, we're just going to all of a sudden hit Instagram with pictures of our projects just to kind of surprise him and show off his beautiful yarn. So I made the Tremble shawl by Lisa Much. So these two colors are, all my friends went to Sisters, I think. And so it has these little, like, I don't know, short row blips of color, and then the same thing, but the opposite on the bottom somewhere. There they are. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good size shawl, which Lisa's generally are. I love the colors. This was so fun to do. It was fun to work on and surprise him. And I tried to do, what do you call them? Finished object pictures or whatever for your project page, which I have to make a project page for this. When I went to see the troll thing, but I just couldn't get it right. I wanted to be super creative because Aaron's always really creative in taking his finished project pictures. So I ended up taking it with me to Sun River, and between Jim and I, we managed to get some pictures of it. So this was a fun knit. It was pretty easy. It's another one of those like garter ridge, a few short row kind of a thing. And this was a pattern that was, Lisa will do every once in a while. She'll put out like this pattern's free today for this weekend or whatever. And so this was one of those that she did free several years ago. And so it was in my library, and I thought, oh, that's a good way to wanted to do something with the two colors. And I thought that was a good way to show them off. So I don't think he has any of this in his shop. That has sold out. So, yeah, I'm glad I was able to finally show you guys that project. Okay, so back to what was in my head. When I was with my local knit group, and I was like, the sweater, the garment that I wear the most of my knitwear is my swano. And if you remember, I made a swano using fingering weight scraps of yarn. I had a friend of mine turn me on to this website that is basically a pattern generator, and it's not necessarily tested, so you kind of have to consider what you're making and, is this really going to fit kind of a thing. And I made a swano just to test it to see how it would go. And I should get it. I made this swano, and I just, like I said, I used scraps. You knit it on, this is to be knit on my knitting machine. So it's knit this way, knit sideways. So you're going back and forth and you're just knitting this way. And I thought, well, what a great way to do stripes so that your stripes are going vertical. So I just took scraps of yarn, mixed and matched. You make two panels. There is a little bit of shaping on the bottom, so it's more rounded. Did the backside a little different. I wear this thing all the time in the wintertime. So you add some sleeves, and it's just this like loose fitting poncho-esque garment. So it wears like a poncho, but the fact that it's got sleeves makes it like a sweater, so it's called a swano. And so I don't usually go out in this because I feel like it's a little, I mean, I love it. I love all the colors, but it can feel a little circusy, right? And I'm like, I don't need that kind of attention to feel like I'm wearing a circus tent. So I thought, I need something that's solid or one color, and maybe I'd wear it out, whatever. So because this website is more of a pattern generator, it's not necessarily a pattern. You take certain measurements, you get your gauge so you know stitches per inch, rows per inch, how long do you want it. So the next one I made out of DK weight, and I had a couple of skeins that a friend gave me of this deep coral color. This was like an oopsie type of skein from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. She did not have the ball band or anything, but going to Blue Moon Fiber Arts website, I think what it is their Silky Victoria base, which is 85% Pullworth, 15% silk. It is 241 grams and 695 yards. So I thought, okay, I had 2 skeins of it. I don't know what the oopsie was with it. I don't know if it was like, oh, that's not the color, they were trying to get pink or something. I don't know. She knew she wasn't going to make anything of it. And I've had it for a couple of years just trying to figure out what I'm going to make. And I thought, the fingering weight sweater weighs about 400 grams. So it's equal to 4 skeins of yarn. I have almost 500 grams of this DK. It should be enough. This is what I have left out of the 2 big skeins, which is about 30 some grams, because it did use the majority of it. So I put in my measurements, and I thought, well, with this one, which is the original design, there's no neck shaping. It's just straight across. You let it roll up, and so it just kind of rests at the base of your neck. And I thought, well, that's fine for this superwash merino for the most part. This is leftover sock yarns and stuff. But the Pullworth is a little more rustic. I mean, I still feel like it's fine, but I thought, I don't know that I want that right here. Let me see if I can figure out stitch count wise if I could make like a little bit of a dip for the neckline and actually make a front. This one I can wear either way. So I did the math, and if I do this many rows, because remember, you're going this way, you are doing shaping. You add the cuff later, but you are doing shaping to make the bottom of it rounded. Now on this one, I did end up adding a crocheted edge to keep it from rolling. So I'm increasing, and then you go straight for a while, and then you decrease. And so I thought, okay, where's the middle of all of that? Try and put a neck shape. And so I did it, and I was laying it out I was blocking it. So you make a front one and a back one. I thought, let me make sure this is going to work out. And I'm like looking at it on the blocking mats going, the neckline is off like a couple of inches. Somehow I didn't do the math quite right. So I was like, oh, darn it. So I let it dry. I ripped it all out, put it back into a big hank, washed the hank again to relax this, because now I'm looking at ramen, right? And let that dry so that it relaxed it and made it back into nice smooth yarn. Redid the math, realized what I did wrong, and did it again, and it worked perfectly. And then I made the back, and I just finished seaming it all up this morning, and it's done. It's ready for some cold weather. So I have this beautiful, beautiful dark coral swano. Let me put it on. I'll put it on for just a second. It is a little warm. Not exactly swano weather, but I'll do it for you guys. So it's like putting on a big sweatshirt, but it's just a little bit nicer. So there you go. I was able to pick up the sleeves in the same color. I don't like my sleeves super long. I always end up hiking them up to my elbows anyway. But look at this, how perfect that came out. It just worked so perfectly. So the back of the neckline does like it's regular. You know, you do the front and the back. And then I did a mattress stitch to seam them together. Then where you started and ended, because remember you're going sideways, it was on waste yarn, so basically like a provisional cast on. And I picked up for the sleeves. I had to pick up more than what this pattern, the pattern generator said. It said to pick up 40 stitches, and I picked up 70 to make it around. So I don't know where the 40 came from, but that's why I'm saying it's a pattern generator, but you kind of have to think about what you're doing. You could totally use this generator for hand knitting. You just would have to take the stitch counts and stuff and just figure it by hand. So I did this on my mid-gauge machine. So I have two brother flatbed knitting machines. I have a standard gauge and a mid-gauge. The standard gauge can do yarns up to fingering weight, and then the mid-gauge can do yarns up to like worsted, probably Aran. The difference is the space between the needles, because it's on a flatbed. You've got the needles that stitch. On the mid-gauge, they're a little further apart, and it's like a latch hook that does the knitting, and those hooks are a little bit bigger to accommodate being able to pull in a thicker yarn. So on my standard gauge, which can go up to fingering weight, won't knit a DK. So it was done on my bigger machine, or mid-gauge machine, and that one doesn't have a ribber or anything. So I just took knitting needles and stuck it in and found the size based on like, oh, that doesn't feel like they had much resistance. It must be like a size 3 or whatever it was, because I don't know what size needles it is because it's knit on the machine. So I found something similar. I think I picked up with a size 2 to do the ribbing, picked up the number of stitches from the provisional cast on, and did however many rows of ribbing till it got to be the length that I wanted. And then you Kitchener the rest, because that's all of this was on waste yarn. So I mattress stitched the cuff, because that was already like knitted up and wasn't on waste yarn anymore. And then when I got to where it was back to the waste yarn, I Kitchenered. So then you really don't have much of a seam. You don't have a seam. You might be able to see the difference just because of color, but I'm super happy with it. I cannot wait till I wear it. I know I will wear the bejesus out of it. And I kept notes on what I did. So now that I know this works, I think I'm going to make a ton of them. So I even thought, wouldn't it be cool to make it out of something like this? So we'll see. But for now, this is good. The edge, it's not really rolling. I mean, it is rolling a little bit, but I'm going to leave it. I did make it a little longer than my fingering weight one. So even if it rolled a little bit, it's still going to feel like it's long enough. So I'm pretty proud of myself actually for figuring out the whole like adding the neckline situation, because, that's something new. So the same website has a formula or pattern generator to do a crew neck pieced sweater. So I think I want to try, I know I want to try to do that and make a fingering weight sweater. If I can figure out that and the sizing and all the numbers that go with that, I think I could crank out a whole bunch of sweaters and be set. Fingering weight works best for me because I'm pretty warm and I don't need a lot of warmth. That's why something like this works so well, because it's not fitted and you get some air and you're not too hot. I tried to cast on, I did cast on. Tried to start the Cool Haas hat that I had mentioned before, and I got the ribbing done. I was working on the blanket while I was on vacation. I'm like, I really should cast on something else that I brought or work on something else that I brought. So this is yarn, once again, from Fiber Hustle. This is Cherry Blossom. And this, I believe, is Targhee. Yeah, 100% Targhee. Worsted weight, 3-ply, 280 yards for 115 grams. So this feels really nice to work with. I got the ribbing done and started the cable action, and I was just so slow because I was trying to use, like, I wasn't using a cable needle, but I had one of these dealies that I don't know, I think it's to like pick up a stitch or something, but I use this as my cable needle, and I'm like, this is slow. I have to figure out a different way to do this. So I set it down and went back to my blanket, and then I haven't picked this back up. So I thought of maybe taking this with me. I think it's too much brain power. The thing is, when we do this big Houston trip, I know I'm going to be really exhausted, and I may not even knit or anything at all, just because I may not have the mental energy for it. And I thought, if I do want to do something, it's got to be super simple that I do not have to think about. And so that's why I think that crochet square deal is a good thing. And then I also thought I would maybe work on and do a muscle burr hat. Now, everybody's done it. Of course, I haven't yet, because I try not to jump on bandwagons, so I'm always like the back. I'm always trying to catch up. It's like, oh, now I want to do one. So I thought, well, that would be good if I get it cast on, and then you're basically, once you get past the crown increases, you're just knitting in a circle forever. And I thought that's the kind of knitting I need, where I don't have to worry about, did I count? I don't, not even magic looping, like just get a, small circumference needle and you just sit and knit. So I actually have some yarn, some of Fiber Hustle yarn on my Swift. I was going to wind it up to get it started. I really had a hard time because it's like, oh, it's so pretty. I don't know that I want to use it, which is so dumb because I know I can always get more from them, right? But then I thought, I have some yarn that needs to be plied that I spun. It was fiber that I got at Rhinebeck last year from Shirsty Cat, and it is 100% BFL, and I spun this quite a while ago, and it is still on my bobbins needing to be plied. So I thought, you know what, that might be a good way to use that hand dyed, or hand spun yarn. But what held me back was my janky Lazy Kate. So this is the Lazy Kate that I use. I just took a couple of knitting needles. Oh, it's got fiber stuck to it. Put some quilt binder clips on it to hold it, and then I put my bobbin on, and then they would just spin off of here. And it's like, okay, it works. Sometimes this pops off, and you're catching it on the ground. It's like, okay, I think I deserve to treat myself to get a real Lazy Kate. So I just got this in the mail. I'm super excited. Whoops. And I got this one made by Shock, and it does have a tension break. Oh, you know me. Tension string. I don't know, whatever. So I can do 3 different spools or 3 different bobbins. You can use the tension break so that it you can set it so that they don't overspin. Like if you're pulling, you're not like, wee, kind of like keeps things in control. And the reason why I got this one is because this all comes apart and lays flat. So when I'm done, like I'll ply these up, just do a 2-ply, and if I'm still in the middle of a spin, it's going to be a while. I can take this apart super easy, and it can store a lot easier. Now this one was made by Shocked, and I got it off of the Web's website, yarn.com. They were the same price as ordering it directly from Shocked, but I got free shipping, so that was a good deal. So I'm excited to try this. I just put it together. Like I said, I just got it out of the mail. So it is a tensioned Lazy Kate. That gives you a better idea of what it's supposed to look like. there. Stay there. Yeah. So I'm excited to try that. So I will get this plied and I will see how that feels and see if I want to do a hat with this. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and wind up one of Erin's skeins that I have and do a hat. And then I'm like, well, what if I get the hat done just on the drive and then I have nothing when I'm there? I might have to bring something else. I haven't figured that out yet, but I need to figure it out because I've got next week to get my shit together, because then it's like crunch time, right? And right before I leave, a couple of days before I leave, Jim's having cataract surgery. So he just turned 61 and he's got cataracts to the point where he needs surgery. So he, he's wanting to get that done. And I said, we got to work around this trip I'm doing because I'm committed to this and I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. And so he's able to get both of his eyes done, one eye one day, the next day he goes in and has the other eye done, and they're also going to correct his vision so he doesn't have to wear contacts anymore. He's very excited about that part. So I explained to the doctor, like, is he going to be okay to take care of himself because I'm gone? And she's like, yeah, he's fine. A lot of people go back to work. He decided to take that week off. Just because his job is very physical and he can't lift anything over 20 pounds, which he would be tempted to do. Like, let me just move this, or just like, it would be hard for him to work and not touch anything. So he'll have that first week off. So he gets, he's like Monday, Tuesday, he has his eyes done. I've got to get him to whatever appointments for checking it out, like on Wednesday or whatever. And then I leave Thursday. So Robert will be around, and he only lives 1.5 miles away, so he can help him. Otherwise, he's on his own. But he's very excited to have this done so he can see better. I did make a purchase since the last time I talked with you because that's how I roll. That's maybe what I'll do as a second project. Okay, so I have made a couple of Zorzel shawls. I've made one for myself and made one for a friend. It's a really fun pattern for whatever reason makes it fun. It is just a relaxing and fun project to do. And it's a 2-color shawl. Well, I just bought, no, I didn't just buy, I've had it for a little while because like I said, it's been a while. These 2 colorways from Needles at the Ready. This is Ghost Water, which is a very light aqua, almost mint color. And then this is Wild Orchid, which is an in-your-face pink, but they look so good together. This could be a really fun Zorzel shawl, and I could cake these up and have them in a bag with the needles and everything, and I could cast that on if I needed something else to work on. That would be an easy thing to do. I think I just solved that problem. So maybe that'll come too. So I'll do a Musselburgh hat out of something, and then I'll do a Zorzel shawl and my crocheted squares. That should be enough. And if it's not, I don't know. I may have to go to the store and buy some yarn. No, I can't bring too much stuff. I'm trying to be like considerate of the fact that we are going to be traveling and it's just going to be chaotic, and I don't want to be like, where's my knitting bag, or having things rolling around on the floor. We're renting a commercial van to drive in because she's got all her gear that she's got to do for her booth, and it's like I just need it to be as simple as possible. But I think if I got this in a bag, be like, this is my stuff. Okay, I think that's the plan. Yeah, that should be plenty. That should be plenty. So, and the little break that we get in between market and festival, like I said, we have a day and a half. We are going to drive over. We're going to be in Houston, so we're going to drive over to Galveston, and I get to see the Gulf of Mexico because I've never seen that before. And we are going to stay in a hotel, and we've booked some massages, so we're going to get massages. So that'll like get us all set for the second half of the adventure, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm apprehensive about some things, just the physicality of it. Like, I hope I can do it, and I hope I don't get sick do not want to get sick. And yeah, I just hope it goes okay and that we still love each other at the end of it. I have been friends with Jenny for almost 20 years, so I think we've seen the best and the worst of each other at this point. So anyway, lots going on. I am not going to be able to record anything until I get back. I'm going to try as much as I can to document some of it because it's all going to be new. And I'm going to be going into states I've never been into before. I know we're just going to be driving through and we don't have time to stop and do anything but just drive through. But I get to see it. I get to say, hey, I was in Oklahoma or wherever the heck we're going to be. She's got the whole itinerary. I have no idea. We're just going. And then we just like look up and see if there's a hotel nearby and we're going to stop. You know, one of those kinds of things. Kind of Thelma and Louise-ish without the bad ending. So anyway, thank you so much for sticking with me through all my little ramblings here. And I hope everything is well where you are. And I will see you on the other side of this big adventure. Okay, bye.